Okay, Senator Tom Cotton, thanks for joining us here at CPAC Sunshine Edition here in the great state of Florida. Governor DeSantis was out there earlier saying this is an oasis of freedom. Pretty amazing how Florida has handled the pandemic as compared with a bunch of blue states. What are your thoughts?
Well, as I said in my speech earlier, this is the first time CPAC has not been in our nation's capital. And it's not because we want to just have fun in the sun in Florida, although that is fun. It's because we're not even allowed near the nation's capital to have a gathering like this. So we had to come to a state that is not under lockdown, like my home state of Arkansas as well. But there's no place I'd rather be than at CPAC with fellow patriots than locked down in Washington, D.C.
So this is the first CPAC since Democrats took complete control in Washington for the first time since 2008. They got the White House, Joe Biden's the president, Kamala Harris the vice president. They got the House, they got the Senate. What message do people need to hear here moving forward? Where does the movement go from here? What's next?
Well, we need all conservatives to be standing up for America more than ever. I know everyone's disappointed about the election results, but remember, we're in much better position coming out of the Trump presidency than we were coming out of either of the Bush presidencies. We had gains in the House. Nancy Pelosi has the smallest majority in 80 years. The Senate is evenly split. We picked up seats in state legislatures. We'll probably win back the House just based on reapportionment and redistricting alone next year. So we have some difficult months ahead of us trying to stop, a wasteful $2 trillion spending blowout, a massive amnesty and open borders bill that Joe Biden has introduced, higher taxes and attacks on our police and everything that we hold dear. But we need conservatives engaged in the fight because we have a great shot at winning back power next year.
Amnesty. Okay, Joe Biden has put forward multiple different amnesty bills. There is a big push from the open borders community to try to do this in his first 100 days. Kamala Harris has said that that's their goal. Do they stand a chance? Is it going to get through the Senate, or do you guys have the line held there?
Not if I have anything to do with it.
Okay.
I can tell you, in my 8 years in the Congress, 2 in the House when I helped stop the terrible Gang of 8 bill in 2013, and then 6 years in the Senate Republicans have gotten much tougher on the border, much stronger on an immigration system that works for working Americans, not just for illegal aliens and foreigners. So I'm pretty confident that we've got the votes to stop it in the Senate. However, we can't take our eye off the ball what Joe Biden is doing through executive action, rolling back a lot of Donald Trump's very common sense America First policies. Like today, literally, our government is seeking out illegal aliens in Mexico that Donald Trump turned away and inviting them to come back to the border. That's not catch and release. That's like recruit and release.
Well, our White House correspondent asked the White House this during a briefing a couple weeks ago. Asked Jen Psaki. She didn't say she was going to circle back on this one, but she said that she didn't know. She'd referred us to the Department of Homeland Security. Are they testing these people for coronavirus before they bring them into the country?
You have to have a coronavirus test to fly into the country, but not to cross at our border. But look at what we also have happening at the border. This is February. We just had a massive winter storm all the way down to the Texas border last week, and yet you have thousands of migrants showing up at our border in the dead of winter. What do they think it's going to be like in 60 days when it's warm in Texas? I mean, this is going to be an unprecedented migrant crisis if Joe Biden and the Democrats don't say loudly and clearly to the entire world, you cannot come to our border and expect to get in. You have to follow our laws, and you have to come here the right way.
This was obviously immigration was a major issue that President Trump championed during his time in office, during his campaign in the way there. We're going to hear from him for the first time on Sunday since he's left office. I think the big thing that everybody here is looking for is for Republicans to fight. You've mentioned this a couple times. What are you looking for to hear from President Trump? What are you looking for in future leaders of the party? I don't know if he's going to run again. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. We're going to hear from some potential other candidates if he doesn't run. What are your thoughts on the future of the party and what we're going to hear from President Trump?
Well, I gather he's going to talk a lot about Joe Biden's immigration agenda, which he should, because he was the first Republican president to get immigration right in a very long time. This is one of the issues that President Trump and I first started talking about when he was a candidate in the summer of 2015, immigration and then also the Iran nuclear deal. But he has helped reset the Republican Party's view on this. Now, not entirely. You still have a lot of businesses out there that want cheap migrant labor. They want open borders. They want more guest workers to come in. But that's not what our voters want. So what our voters want going forward, whether it's president in 2024, senator of Congress in 2022, or just down to local office this year, they want Republicans who will follow the America First principles that President Trump laid out. Because really, if you're not going to put America first, as Joe Biden says he doesn't, where are you going to put America? Is it going to be last? Is it going to be 17th? Is it going to be third? Republicans need to pursue the America First agenda.
Another issue that President Trump kind of really got right ahead of a lot of people is China.
Yeah.
We're seeing Joe Biden really appease the Chinese Communist Party. What are some of the things that you're concerned about as the Biden administration continues cozying up to the CCP in Beijing? What are you looking for? What do you want to see on that front?
Yeah, I am worried about some of the early decisions and actions of the Biden administration, some of their nominees that are soft on China. Because as you say, President Trump, for the first time, really reset America's foreign policy towards China, recognizing that China was our number one competitor in the world, trying to take our jobs and factories away, trying to intimidate our allies, trying to make China the number one economy and military power.
And China's a real threat. I mean, they're trying to take over the world from Beijing. They're influencing our education. They're getting involved in Hollywood.
Yeah.
They're every element of our lives.
I mean, when was the last time you saw a Chinese bad guy in a movie? You know, back in the Cold War, Russian communists were always the bad guys. Well, you think that Chinese communists would provide pretty good fodder for Hollywood, but you never see it. And in fact, in Top Gun 2, Tom Cruise had to take the Taiwan flag off of his bomber jacket because the Chinese objected. Why is that? Well, it's partly because China provides so much money to Hollywood studios. It's also because Hollywood wants access to the Chinese market. You also see it on college campuses. One of the very first things that Joe Biden did was reverse Donald Trump's rule that imposed more scrutiny on the so-called Confucius Institutes on our college campuses, which are really nothing more than espionage fronts or a way to get people hooked on Chinese money and Chinese influence. So some of the decisions Joe Biden's made in the early days are very troubling about China.
All right, Senator Tom Cotton, really want to thank you for joining us here at CPAC. Enjoy the nice weather here in
Thanks,
Orlando.
Matt.
Thank you, Senator.